Welcome to Community Church Unitarian Universalist. I am your worship associate, Emma Caverly, and it is a joy to be with you today. Community Church is a progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. We welcome all who are on a spiritual search for truth and meaning. Ours is a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. Please look to your weekly email for announcements. We do have some announcements this morning from Michelle.
Good morning. I have a couple of things. First of all, a reminder that next Sunday is our congregational meeting. We'll be electing new board members, so that's an important one. So please try to be here if you can. And we also get our reports, our congregational reports, annual reports. So you'll want to be here. And then I have a couple of things for Together New Orleans. Together New Orleans has been really busy, and it's all good stuff. You know, as you know, we are a community lighthouse, and so there is a statewide lighthouse keeper training next Saturday, 10 to 4, it says on here. So 10 to 4. It's actually 9. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like 9 to 3, I think. Right, Deborah? 9 to 4. Okay. And lunch will be served. And there will be a few of us carpooling together. I think we have at least 4 people, but we can always use more. Anybody who's interested in helping out with the lighthouse when it's needed, that's, you know, following a hurricane. If the power is out, people can come here and charge their devices and cool off and get some water and things like that. So it's good work and important work. If you're interested, there's one of these hanging up at the door to the office, and I'll also hang this up in the fellowship hall. And then the Future of Our City campaign is the big campaign for this year for Together New Orleans. As you recall, last year we did house meetings where we talked about the things that are affecting us personally, our families. And from that came these 7 areas that are a lot of people are affected by right now in New Orleans. New Orleans is losing population faster than any place else in the country right now. And a lot of it is because of, number 1, insurance costs and hurricanes. And number 2, job opportunities. Young people are leaving for better job opportunities. We have to do something. The new mayor and the city council have got to do something. And so this is going to be leading up to a big September rally. But first of all, before we do that rally, and the September rally is going to have all the mayoral candidates and all the city council candidates. They've all so far agreed to come in September. But we have to ratify our agenda for that September meeting. On July 13, we need 7 delegates from CCUU to go to this meeting, the Delegates Assembly, and ratify that agenda. This will also be hanging up in the fellowship hall. But if you're interested, please see either me or Deborah, just so we have an idea of who's interested and who will be coming. But you can sign up by this QR code. But yeah, Deborah and I will be happy to talk to you about all that. Come and see us.
This morning, we are delighted to welcome back to the pulpit one of our own, Shawn Loht. Shawn has been a member of CCUU since 2019. He is employed as a research manager at Delgado Community College. His education includes a bachelor's degree in liberal arts from St. John's College and a PhD in philosophy from the Catholic University of America. In his previous career, Shawn was a philosophy professor and held faculty positions at Tulane and at Mercer University in Georgia. He's the author of 2 books and more than a dozen peer-reviewed journal articles and book chapters. He currently serves as the church's stewardship on the on the church's stewardship and finance committees. He regularly volunteers with the Catherine Project, Soul, and the Federal City Community Garden. Welcome to the pulpit, Shawn. Our call to worship this morning comes from the Song of Solomon. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of birds is come, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in the land. It is our custom to light a chalice, invoking hope and eternal truth to our worship. Please join us in singing the words of the chalice lighting. We light this flame. The words are printed in your order of service. Now it is our time for all ages, and Reverend Jacqueline has the book for us.
So this book is a home for Mr. Emerson. It's a story I'd never heard of, and I've read a lot of stories about Emerson, so I was surprised. But it turns out it's in his later part of his life, and I won't read all of it. But so what I want to just kind of tell you, and I'll show pictures, and it's really good for adults. And I'm not far enough. Okay. Anyway, so the story is about Ralph Waldo Emerson. And if there are any kids listening, I know you know the name Waldo. And in fact, Ralph Waldo Emerson was called Waldo. We always call him all three names, but he was called Waldo as a kid. And he moved a lot when he was a kid, but he always dreamed of living in the country. So that's him walking the streets of, I don't know where, Boston or somewhere, dreaming that he's out in the country. And so he does get a house out in the country, and he builds this lovely, he goes to college, and then he gets his house in the country. I don't know if you've ever heard that he was a Unitarian minister, and he left the ministry. He did not like doing pastoral care. He got to the point where he could not serve communion with any integrity. And eventually he got really pretty angry and said that we were a corpse cold congregation. Something we've tried to live down for a long time. And he married his young wife, who sadly passed away early. And he took a job even chasing the pigs in the town. There was an official position to be the pig chaser. And so he chased the pigs. And then as he remarried a woman he called Queenie, and she called him Mr. Emerson the whole time. Her real name was Lydian. But anyway, so they had 3 children, and he loved to take them out in the country and show them the fruit trees and what everything was and tell them. So he gave them a very good education about nature. And he wrote his journals, and he became famous, as Shawn may tell you all about. And then I wanted to show you this one picture where So sadly, his house burns down. So he's wakened in the night by smoke and flames, and the fire is in the walls, so there's no stopping it really. And he's devastated, and they're gray-headed now, pretty old. He's a little bit bald-looking here. And he was just devastated. His wife, Queenie, was devastated, and the neighbors did everything they could to save his papers, which was the most important thing to him, and his books. And they said, y'all go away, go on a trip, and we're going to fix your house. And so Queenie did not want to go really. No, I'm sorry, Queenie went. No, the older daughter went. Queenie stayed home. She's probably my age. Anyway, and the neighbors got together, they gathered the money and all of that, and they rebuilt his house as a big surprise for them when they came home. And I tell that story just to show you how much he was regarded by the time, and in his later life. He started out as a young man dreaming of just having a house in the country. And he ended up being so respected and cared for that his neighbors rebuilt his house for him. So live a good life. And you never know. That's
Our first reading today is the poem entitled God's Garden by Dorothy Frances Gurney. The Lord God planted a garden in the first white days of the world, and he set there an angel warden in a garment of light unfurled. So near to the peace of heaven that the hawk might rest with the wren. For there in the cool of the even, God walked with the first of men. And I dream that these garden closes, with their shade and their sun-flecked sod, and their lilies and bowers of roses, were laid by the hand of God. The kiss of the sun for pardon, the song of the birds for mirth. One is nearer God's heart in a garden than anywhere else on earth. For he broke it for us in a garden under the olive trees, where the angel of strength was the warden, and the soul of the world found ease.
This is our sacred time of joys and sorrows. If you are online, you may write your joys and sorrows in the comment section to be read aloud. In person, you may write them on one of the cards being passed out by our greeters. You may remain seated as we sing our hymn number 105, From Age to Age. That's hymn 105. one spirit with breath. One guiding ring from age to age of freedom and of faith, of freedom and of faith. The kindling power of souls hold fast, who dead they seek the day. How great the cloud of witnesses and countless sing away, and countless sing away. Through every race, in every clime, one song shall yet be heard. Onward in thy sanctuary, of everlasting word, of everlasting word. For Michelle, we have two big joys. Her mom's procedure went well, and her sister gave birth to a healthy, big baby girl this week. Welcome, Virginia Violet Springer. From Kathy, it was a joy to attend Roots Camp, a group of liberal thinkers from around Louisiana. Alicia Cook is one of the organizers. From Lizzie, we have a joy to spend the morning with my CCUU family. It's lovely to see you here, Lizzie, today. She also has a concern that her dad has barely been able to walk lately, and they're working to figure all of that out. So wish you luck with that. We have a sorrow from Kathleen that Abigail is struggling with depression following the suicide of one of her roommates, and a joy that she's still working hard on her social skills and mental health. And from Reverend Jacqueline, her recovery is dragging on. She's wearing a brace now, but does feel, but don't feel too sad for her. She's off to the beach and then to Chicago. We will light 2 more candles, one for the joys still bubbling up, too new to share, and one for the sorrows that we cannot yet put into words. Know that we hold you in our hearts.
Our second reading today is an excerpt from the book entitled Environmental Ethics by Holmes Ralston III. We live in an inventive universe. We confront a projective nature, one restlessly full of projects, stars, comets, planets, moons, and also rocks, crystals, rivers, canyons, seas. The life in which these astronomical and geological processes culminate is still more impressive, but it is of a piece with the whole projective system. Everything is made out of dirt and water, stellar stuff, and funded with stellar energy. One cannot be impressed with life in isolation from its originating matrix. Nature is a fountain of life, and the whole fountain, not just the life that issues from it, is of value. Thus ends our second reading. What does it mean to be a Unitarian Universalist? Where did the Unitarian Universalists come from? Am I a Unitarian Universalist? I feel like one of the hallmarks of maturity is the realization that I am X, Y, and Z, and that I can either run away from what I am or embrace what I am. My values and identities are mostly fixed. Typically, when people ask me what Unitarian Universalists believe, among other things, I'll mention that we believe that God is one and not three, so that's the Unitarian piece, and that everybody goes to heaven, or at least nobody goes to hell, so that's the Universalist piece. I like that one. But I very often ask myself, honestly and truly, what I'm doing here, and more importantly, what are the values that being here helps me to cultivate? The contemporary identity of our practice is more than I can talk about today. I want to share some slivers of the Unitarian Universalist legacy by spending a few minutes with Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson is one of the ancestors of our practice. You might be aware of Emerson's career as a minister and essayist, his most famous writing probably being the essay Self-Reliance. And he did come up professionally around the time Unitarianism was taking shape in America. But he actually only was a minister for a short time before leaving the church, having found that church ideology at the time focused too much on scriptural doctrine at the expense of science and reason. I learned from a biography that he preferred to be called Waldo because he had in fact had an uncle named Ralph, who he was named for, and he had 6 cousins named Ralph as well. He just wanted to have his own name, which I can understand. I find it very difficult to turn off the constant noise and really the slow burning panic attack constantly induced by today's political climate and the 24-hour news cycle. I always feel like I'm going to miss something if I'm not checking my New York Times app and my Facebook every hour. And I sometimes feel guilty that I am not sufficiently invested in every issue my fellow citizens want me to be concerned with. Maybe these things are true for you too. As a preface today, I'm going to ask you to hit pause on this part of your consciousness, at least for a few minutes. I suggest that as an antidote, we ponder with Emerson the phenomenon of nature. So pretend, if you can, let your mind wander a little bit. Pretend that we're outdoors, maybe sitting next to a pond or a meadow, surrounded by tall trees, with a soundtrack of chirping birds and clicking insects. Emerson suggests that when we comprehend our relationship to nature, we are better able to understand what God is and what we are. In Emerson's worldview, our reality consists of 2 fundamental strata. These are nature and spirit. Spirit is us. Nature is everything that is not us. Nature includes not just the plants and animals, but rocks, the earth, the stars, our own bodies, and the rest of the universe. Emerson holds that we can learn a great number of things from nature. For instance, the forms we see in natural things provide moral edification. When we look at a strong tree and consider its upright shape, its straight trunk, its firm roots, its fortitude in the face of storms and winds. We witness a moral exemplar. The tree teaches us how to be. When we watch the squirrel gathering nuts and seeds all day long, the squirrel illustrates industriousness and planning and saving for a rainy day. The squirrel teaches us how to be. It doesn't need to be anything more than what it is. In this way, Emerson suggests, nature talks to us. When we perceive the rhythmic repetition and constant beat of natural cycles all around us, this reveals our own intuition of the language of life. When we measure our lives in years, annual trips around the sun, we follow the language of life. When we wake up with the sunrise and wax and wane with the seasons, we are attuned to the cues of nature. Nature and ourselves have an inborn kinship. When nature talks to us, it speaks the language of spirit. Emerson observes this when he writes in a journal entry, "Yesterday I walked in the storm, and truly in the fields I am not alone or unacknowledged. They nod to me, and I to them." I invite you to try this next time you're on a nature walk. Similarly, Emerson says, our experience of nature reveals that each one of us is a poet. When we view a picturesque landscape, our perception is ready-made poetic. We don't just see farms, fields, fence rows. We appreciate the softness of the hills, the mingling of colors, the interplay of earth and sky. The very word, landscape, expresses that we are conditioned to see things in terms of beauty, arrangement, and harmony. Your eyes are a paintbrush, and your soul is the palette. Most important for Emerson about nature is that it reveals to us the mind of God. Nature reveals the mind of God. This is where Emerson's Unitarianism comes into view. Emerson says this because, while we can't know what nature is, we can discern that it is infinite and permanent, always changing and always staying the same. However, nature is not God. Rather, nature is an emanation of God. Our spiritual kinship with nature, the fact that it talks to us and we hear it, its lawfulness and order and harmony, these are all indications that God presences to us through nature. Nature affords us the intuition of another state of reality constantly pulsating beneath our own. Nature is something like a never-stopping player piano, a reader and translator, and a message bearer of God's heart. These observations can also help us understand ourselves. And here is another one of Emerson's contributions to the Unitarian Universalist identity. We are manifestations of spirit, but we also have natures of our own. You and I are embodied and finite. We have dreams and aspirations. We know what we like and what we don't like. I, for one, do not like crawfish, and I do not want to be around it. It's a fact. One of the most important moral commands for us, Emerson says, is to realize what our individual nature or constitution is and to be true to it. If we do this, then we are our own best teachers. We are the best informed about what matters for us. An observation Emerson makes on this score, which I love, is that the human world at large hates it when we become. So much of the world pushes against us becoming ourselves, much less affording us wholesome avenues for self-discovery. As if there is one template for what everybody is supposed to be. From the Unitarian Universalist perspective, this means not just that spiritual fulfillment is an individual choice. It means that in spiritual terms, we don't have need for persons of authority or books or ceremonies that we don't relate to. In fact, we ought to try and live every moment as if it had no precedent, as if every experience is a discovery. Emerson writes in Self-Reliance, "These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are for what they are. There is no time to them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. Its nature is satisfied, and it satisfies nature in all moments alike. The rose, the tree, the rock, the stream, the planet and its orbit all thrive in realizing their natures. United, harmonious, self-sufficient. Our task is to find a way to be like them. Our individual spiritual task is to discover our own nature and to figure out what it takes to fully realize ourselves. As a coda, to be clear, I don't think that our spiritual task as UUs is to retreat from society and go live in a mountain shack in a Walden-esque exercise of contemplation. I'm not pushing that message. I'm not proposing that we can each find spiritual fulfillment by sitting in front of a tree and waiting for enlightenment. Rather, given what we know about psychology 200 years after Emerson's contribution, I would prefer to say that self-realization is, in fact, relational. The human being thrives in community. We learn about ourselves by being with other people. Nonetheless, the questions I think Emerson leaves us to ponder, in which I think are embedded in our Unitarian Universalist practice, go like this. So, 4 questions. What can you do to better hear the language of the natural world? How will you make every moment of your life be brand new? Who are you? And what will you do to become who you are? May it be so, and amen.
Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation. Members and friends' generosity help us do the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online, by text, or in person this morning. See the information on the back of your order of service for online giving. You may remain seated for our hymn number 79, No Number Tallies Nature Up. That's hymn number 79.
It is the shining forth of light, and pours the deluge still. And earth was by its fragile powers along the centuries. From race on race, from earth's flowers, its wreath shall nothing miss. It lights the paths in characters of rock and fire and stone. The building in the coral sea, the planting of the poor, and thefts from satellites and breezes, and broken stars anew. And out of spent and aged things, it formed the world anew. As time and tide forever run, nor winds sleep in the west, will never wheels which whirl the sun and satellites have rest. Yet will the glowing wheels once more and mix the bowl again. See fade the ancient elements, each golden piece of pain. Let roar and train and breeze and song, let ripen lace on race, the sunburnt world that we shall breathe of all the countless days. No rain is dimmed, no autumn worn, behold, as force is new, and fresh the rose on yonder thorn gives back the empty dew.
For our benediction today, a brief excerpt from Emerson's book entitled Nature. Every spirit builds itself a house, and beyond its house a world, and beyond its world a heaven. Know then that world exists for you. For you is the phenomenon perfect. What we are, that only we can see. All that Adam had, all that Caesar could, you have and can do. Adam called his house heaven and earth. Caesar called his house Rome. You perhaps call yours a cobbler's trade, 100 acres of plowed land, or a scholar's garret. Yet line for line and point for point, your dominion is as great as theirs. Build, therefore, your own world. As fast as you conform your life to the pure idea in your mind, that will unfold its great proportions.
Please rise as you are comfortable for a closing hymn, number 194, Faith is a Forest. That's hymn 194. And please remain standing for the chalice extinguishing.
Faith is a forest in which doubts reign high. In sight can hear the still small voice deep inside. When all life is through thy reap, strength and commitment to all I believe. Vision be my guide as I seek thy way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me all I do and say. Seeds of both big and strong are scattered in air. Dignity shines undimmed by bigotry's glare. Web of life, faith is thread I weave. Help me bear witness to all I believe. Justice be my guide as I seek thy way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say. Fortune and famine ride the swift wings of chance. Sorrow and pleasure seem unite and in dance. Web of life, faith is thread I weave. Compassion with all I believe. Mercy be my guide as I seek thy way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say.
Please join me in the chalice extinguishing. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish the chalice here. That it might flow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. Please join us in the fellowship hall for coffee and refreshments.